Good news, you're here just in time. Here's another Laneway Talks.
Good morning, Rob, and welcome to episode 11, series 4, I think, isn't it?
I reckon you could be right. I'm looking through my notes here. So
Yeah, that's where we are. That's where we've hit. I'd like to start today. Well, firstly, I'm going to start with two of the favourite albums we've been listening to in the office here over the last week. One being a early 70s band, Australian, called Mackenzie Theory.
Yeah, right.
Now, you kind of up to date with Mackenzie Theory?
I've heard of them, yes.
Okay, like 71 to 73, 74, jazz rock, no real vocal. They're actually up on Spotify because they're an early mushroom act, and also another one from that stable, but late 70s, called Mio 245. Do you remember them?
I do, yes.
Right. I mean, I was a big fan of that band, and they were a kind of early indie rock, but with I used to call it sci-fi keyboard in it. It was quite sci-fi keyboard, but indie rock, and they had a great future ahead of them. And then they disappeared after the first record. They didn't actually do many gigs either. There is some vision from the Mushroom Evolution concert, which I should put up, of the band, and as I'm just putting up copies of the album covers now for everybody to see on screen.
Mackenzie Theory or?
Mackenzie Theory, and then I'm following here with Mio 245. So just so you get a bit of a glimpse of those albums, one being a real prog rock cover, and one Mackenzie
Bon
Theory.
Voyage?
Bon Voyage? Yeah, not Bon Voyage, Out of the Blue.
Out of the Blue? I've got that on my screen in front of me right here.
Yeah, so you've got the album.
I've got it sitting in front of me on Google.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. And Mio 245, which is, again, a bit of a sci-fi kind of cover. Anyway, so they have been our listening pleasures for the week. You know, we kind of pick stuff out of the catalogue on vinyl and we play it and whatever, because the vinyl collection is quite big, even though we know it's unenvironmental. And I did read an article which said that it was trying to explain how unenvironmental, or what's the footprint of a digital upload of an album and then being played and whatever, and that it was quite unenvironmental too. So, you know, what does that go to tell you? Well, there isn't anything we can do then that's not environmentally friendly. And that was, you know, I couldn't bear to read it anymore, because I thought, well, where do we head from here then if that's unenvironmental? Correct?
Yeah, you mean about records?
Well, about the environmental impact of music, and, you know, therefore we know CDs are completely unenvironmental, vinyl are the second most unenvironmental, and now they're saying that, you know, online the footprint is pretty bad because of the storage, the data and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, where do you go to from there? There is nowhere to go, is there?
I don't know. Check your source. I reckon it's a conspiracy. Don't believe any of it.
No, well, I personally think, and I'm no scientist, I just go, well, I think it's a lot better online, and, you don't get that wastage into landfill. Now, it could be the environmental impacts of it being digital could have, a whole nother set of environmental issues that come with it. But I can't discuss them because I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I did see that. What I wanted to move on to today, I've had a lot of questions asked about what we've been talking about over the last probably month, and that's social media. And I thought, okay. So I got some notes together, across questions that were coming in. And so I've got down here, let's talk all about the social media sites and what you put up on them and why you put up them, why you put info on them. So if I start with YouTube, and YouTube, as we all know, everybody knows, is Vision site. But they are exploring into the textual-based side of things with their community. And then they've moved into the Instagram side of things with shorts, which are, like reels. So why do we do that? And then it revolves around those questions too. Is it just about getting subscribers or followers or or just the views, and getting the views? And there's monetization on there. So the more views you're getting, the more money you're making because they're placing commercials. You're no different to a television station 30 years ago. So why are we doing that, Rob? And, from your experience, as we know with Rob's Drum Shed, it is extremely important because it gives you an avenue to put out your syllabus on a visual basis and people actually seeing you play the drums and being able to follow along with the notation underneath also, which gives it that second dimension. I know it's 2D, but, I suppose you could say it goes to the 3D in a sense because, I'm watching you play it and you're putting the notations underneath. And so it gives you a pretty good ability to get across your message about drum tuition and people learning drums. And so if I ask you that question, and we've just put up more of Rob's Drum Shed videos on Laneway Music, so we're helping Rob promote his site. And and in the last week or so, I think I put it on our header page, and it went from whatever 30 views to 60 or 70, and it'll get to 100. I know that's not a lot, but from small things, big things come. And
there's a song about that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you've got to, nothing wrong with talking about, well, I only got 50 streams. Well, we've got to get it to 100, then we've got to get it to 200, then we've got to get it to 400, and then we've got to get it to 800. And that is
sounds frightening.
Yeah, it does. But and a lot of hard work in between that, Rob. So tell us a little bit about why you've got it up there and what your experience has been like with it, because these are the questions I'm getting, with music.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, originally YouTube was a platform for me when I created the website because I don't know, the reasons that I do it seem to be counter to what a lot of other people do it for. But for me, it was so students could go home from their drum lesson and they could click on the YouTube link on my website, right? Because I had it all pretty much protected, or I had to invite you in. So it wasn't open platform.
Yeah.
So the students could view the lessons, and therefore I'm still owning mainly the content. So that was for YouTube. It's always been that for me. It's been a resource to store my media for my teaching.
I mean, and that's an interesting point. As I said, it's the next dimension to I've come to see you to be tutored in drumming. I can then go home and either go over that tuition that we did and see it visually and learn it a lot more. I mean, I remember when I went, where you went down to the drum school, your teacher taught you and you went home and you had to remember it and you had to open up the book and that's it. You're on your own. Whereas it's kind of you not leaving us if I was being tutored by you and being able to go home and get that next dimension and with the annotation, the notations underneath. I mean, that's just fantastic how that happens.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, for me, also there's a very small percentage of students that are motivated and can remember exactly what they need to work on. So it was a reinforcement for them. And I don't know whether that is a millennial attention span thing due to the resources that they use, and they can't concentrate for long periods of time. Because when I originally went to lessons, I've been to lessons most of my life, but when I went back, when we moved to Melbourne and I was playing with the Soldiers, I studied with Frank Corniola. And Frank wrote all of my steps down each week that I had to complete my task, and then I had to come back at the end of the week for the next lesson and have that task completed or 90% completed. Otherwise, I'd pretty much get booted as a student. Now, I speak to a lot of drummers and a lot of music students during the week in the course of what I do, and there's not a lot of people that, there'd be maybe 5-10% of the people that I speak to have the ability to do that. Most of them need some sort of backup resource, which is what we're talking about. YouTube supplies that. I mean, Vimeo is another one. I think Vimeo is a better platform than YouTube because it's not full of so much clutter. But Vimeo is more for serious professionals. I think YouTube's just an open slather of, if you want to put up you playing with your dog in the backyard, you can do that.
I want to cut in there and say, we have about just under 50,000 subscribers to Laneway Music on YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
And they keep sending me messages saying, well, you could have a subscription fee. That's their next big revenue model. And I thought, how the hell could I charge anybody a subscription fee for watching all our videos? I can't. It's not what we're about. Now, then I come to you, and that is possible because...
Well, that's what I do. My students pay a subscription fee for access to the website, and through the website, all the YouTube clips are available.
But do they pay the subscription via YouTube?
No, they don't.
No, that's correct.
Through my website.
Exactly. So. But what's happening here is YouTube have got that built in for you now so that they subscribe on YouTube, and YouTube then pushes out to them on a more notable basis. They guarantee you that they will get your new uploads and whatever and all that kind of jazz. So they're really pushing that subscription base. So I know you need, that is what you're about, because it's very important for your business model.
Well, it pays for the website and the website hosting and the platforms that we use.
Yeah, exactly. So we're putting up your videos. We're very notable that we're noting very clearly that this is not about us putting your videos up for free. Because they need to be paid for, because that's how you earn your living. So essentially they're teasers, and we're putting some notes to it, and we are going to market those, everybody, when we have enough videos up there. So I suppose once we get to maybe a dozen on there, we can start a campaign. Now, and I can talk openly about this online. We're here, we're helping Rob, but it's a win-win for everybody because it gives variety to the Laneway Music YouTube channel, and it gives Rob some more exposure, which he needs for his site. And then if that starts to grow and we market it, and we do paid marketing, we're bringing more people to our site and then shoving them through, you would hope, with a subscription button over to Rob's site, or it might say learn more, and pushes them over to Rob's. Now, we want to direct that to drummers. So it's not a macro form of marketing. It would be a very micro-related form of marketing. Makes it a little bit more difficult, but that's what we aim to do. And we see that as a win-win. It's music-related. Rob wins, we win. So everybody's getting a chunk of the pie. Don't you think, Rob?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I also think don't just limit it to drummers. I mean, any musician can afford to get a better understanding of rhythms and how to play them, and how drummers see music in a completely different sense to how a melodic bass instrument would see it. But it still rhythmically has to have a matching point between a guitar player and a bass player and a drummer and a singer and a keyboard player.
Yeah.
All very different, but the rhythms you've got to understand what those rhythms are. And I've noticed in a lot of bands that I played in, when I start to talk, and you mentioned this yesterday in our discussion, when I start to talk about musical terms, music in musical terms, a lot of people either switch off or don't have the language to be able to communicate like that. It goes blah, 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 blah. Or, I mean, there's specific terms musically for that. So I think, and my book and my website explains those terms from the ground up. You know,
very important. I mean, you've got to start with. I think any video has to be directed to the uninitiated to drumming, and therefore you need to grab their attention very quickly in layman's language, not talking drum sight reading language. Otherwise, I think you'll lose people straight away. The young ones who you want.
As long as you explain it in a way that people can understand what the benefit is, I think they'll make the effort to learn. But the trick is today with what we're dealing with, as you know, the whole context of this conversation this morning on Laneway Talk about the use of social media. I think there's a bit of a trap where people see these amazing, I call them performing monkeys, these brilliant musicians just blasting away. It's like, that's fantastic, but there's at least 10,000 hours worth of work in that, and it's focused work. You're not going to get that. That's selling the dream, but not every mortal is going to be capable mentally, physically, to be able to do that. But in a basic sense, you can come in and get a basic understanding of what's going on at a level that you're going to understand it and not be confused, and pretty much after every practice, you're just going to be downhearted going, I can't do this, I'll never get there, blah, blah, blah. If, as you say, every week also, you've got to have a plan. You've got to have a 12-month plan, get to the end of the 12 months, see the improvement, and then on you go.
Look, it isn't easy, and that initial, I think the initial first year or into the second year is difficult. I'll relate it to drums. Is a difficult period to weed out the ones that are going to survive and don't survive, because it isn't easy and it takes a lot of effort and dedication to want to do it. As a kid myself learning, I used to play drums every day without fail, every day. And I'm not sure there's a large percentage that won't do that. Forget the distractions of today. Let's hone in on the ones that really want to learn. There's still a selection of them that won't get through because there is too many distractions. And, I think that if you want to be a really good drummer, at that early stage, you are playing every day.
Yeah, you are. But also, there's a lot more variables, Vincent. Playing in a band with your mates from school is your first level, or playing in a school band. A lot of the school bands, and that's a whole other topic, aren't very satisfying for a lot of kids. So, your mates at school, the ones that are sitting in the corner, want to play rock and roll, and they want to play heavier music, and, hang out with them, start a band. Doesn't matter how bad it sounds, just get in the shed and start bashing away.
Rob, what comes with that is that learning about timing. And interestingly, I was talking to someone the other week who was a piano player, but essentially just a taught piano player, sight read very well, couldn't improvise to help themselves, and found it very difficult to learn some songs outside of what they'd learned. Now, let's say it's Chopin and all those kind of things, right? And to get into more contemporary music and the timing involved. Now, I couldn't understand it at all. I thought,
you want me to explain it to you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Because I find if you put a track on for me, Rob, and you go, can you play drums to it? I'll probably hit the mark. I'll get it 90, 95%. Right? No problem. I get it. And I will rip into it, and I have no issue improvising and nailing that track. The other 5% is give it to me 5 or 10 times, and mate, I'll nail it 100%. Now, they said they couldn't do that. Oh, it's too hard. I just went, what?
The difference between a classically trained musician, a formally trained musician, and I've noticed in classical music, they have an ethos of everything that they learn is from a greater sphere of a body of work, and it's centuries old. And they learn that. They learn their music theory, they learn their harmony, they learn the complexities of that, and it's all out of a book and it's read. Improvisation is something that jazz musicians do. So the classical to jazz, there's a big gap between the two, and I'm talking in a broad sense. Please listeners, this isn't gospel, but in a broader sense from my understanding of spending years with classical musicians and fully trained musicians who are just unbelievable. But the same thing, the improvisation doesn't enter their sphere of thought because they haven't been trained like that. It's not that they haven't got the ability to do it, because you throw that piece of sheet music of that particular track that you're talking about in front of them and they'll nail it. Because one of my piano teachers at uni, when I was doing piano, he said, why would you not have music? He said, if you haven't got music, it's too hard. You have to try and remember things. He said, and you don't want to use that part of your brain. He said, what you want to do is focus on what's written on the page and not have to think about what's coming next, because it's all there written for you.
Right. Now that clicks with me. Now, I get that. Okay, I totally get what you're saying there. That's a very good analogy. Everybody, I mean, just let's say that again, mate. That is very important.
But it was Rodney Smith, was my professor at uni, and he was the piano teacher there. And he said, why would you not have the music in front of you? All right? So you've got everything written in front of you. You know where you're going. You've got your roadmap. Why would you try and remember that? Because what you're doing is that part of your brain that you're trying to remember with, you could be focusing on playing what you're reading in front of you better. I mean, it's the same as if you're reading out of a book.
Yeah.
Right? And then you put the book down and then you try to, some people are really good at doing it, but you try to remember what it is. Actors are really good at doing that, and my hat off to them.
Yeah.
But if you try to remember exactly what you just read in the book and then go and read it into a camera or, communicate it to someone, I find that very difficult to do.
Right.
Just remembering all of those different lines or the paragraph or a page. Some people are great at doing it. It's the same thing. You're using a different part of your brain to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I find it intriguing, absolutely intriguing. Coming from someone like myself, and it explains it very well, very well. All right, well, we'll just move on a bit and just go. So we were exploring there about YouTube and Rob's Drum Shed and the difference between that and, say, Laneway Music, and what we're using it for, what you're using it for, and the different opportunities within there. They've got their three components: video, long form, short form, and community, which is a text-based communication tool to your fans, which quite frankly doesn't work that well anyway. It gets to virtually nobody. And then, community posts don't really work, I don't find, but we do them, and we get some likes on there, but I don't know who's looking at them. You move across to Facebook, and Facebook is what it is. Now, it used to be text-based posts and then graphics, and, they've moved a big way since January this year is when they really started pushing videos and long form, and obviously short form through Reels, but they're really pushing long form. And I'm working up to this to LinkedIn in the end. And, Instagram is the same, long form videos. We set up our posts in Business Suite. So the post, you develop the post or create the post to go directly to Facebook and Instagram in long form. They then try and get you to create your short form, your reels and whatever, which we don't do. Now, we don't do that as much. We find more effectiveness for us is the long form video, with no doubt about it. We had a video up the other week. It gave me the stats this morning on it. 280,000 views, and it was a couple of thousand likes, and it was over 1,000 shares. So, really effective. I find that the reels are not as effective. But, the other thing is, Rob, we only have so many resources. And so to actually do the short form verticals and whatever, we do them. But to really effectively apply them and get the most out of them, we just don't have the resources to do that. It's just a whole nother job. You've got to stay on it big time. Like TikTok, we have bursts on TikTok, and we're there, and we start getting all our likes and whatever, and then we can't keep concentrating on it because we're doing so much else. So
you need a team of people to do that, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And we don't have a team, because if we did have a team, and we could have a team, if we did that, all our money goes in wages. And if it goes in wages, I don't have the money to market the artists, and the artists come first. Now, it's the chicken and the egg, isn't it?
That's a really important part of understanding how Laneway works, and I think that's a great thing for you to say, because you are interested in supporting the artists. I mean, I know that firsthand because you support me. So.
But people would say to us, it's a chicken and the egg, in that, well, you just said that you want to promote artists, but you haven't got enough employees to effectively get across all social media and really get the artist level of views or likes up. But I've been doing this for a long time, my whole life. I do say to people, I'm a very lucky man. Essentially, haven't worked a day in my life, and so But the thing is, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in that if you start employing, the work that comes with the management of those employees and the effectiveness and meeting the KPIs, it becomes self-fulfilling in this rolling snow down the hill. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. You need to put more people on. You need to get people to keep their KPIs on track. You need to get someone who manages them. And then suddenly what we're doing is we're chasing the streams to make money to pay for wages. And so therefore I can't do as favourable deals as we do for our artists. So our artists don't make as much money. And
a question.
Yep.
Does the content suffer because you're not focusing, you're concentrating on content that's going to attract more buyers, so it's not as deep as it could be?
Well, that's the chicken and the egg. I think that, how far do we go before we, we reach that line in the sand where you go, well, hold on, you're not giving the best exposure to the artist. Then what that says, and that's correct, and then what that says is, well, therefore we can't bring on as many artists. We have started to knock back artists on Laneway Music. Excuse me. We have started to say no. And if they don't meet certain criteria, we're now starting to say no, because it affects the other artists that are on there. Let's say yourself, Virgin Soldiers. We just can't give you as much exposure. And if the artists themselves isn't helping the exposure of themselves, then all they're doing is thinking they're signing to a record label, And so, look, there is consequences to it all, Rob. As I say, I keep saying the chicken and the egg. How far do you go before you lose the ability to have a hit or to get something to viral? But what I've learned over the years is those wages are what will kill you in the end, because you're then worried about fulfilling and paying those wages, and you're not worried about the artist. Now, we took a very strong view on this in the very beginning with Laneway, that we would not be employing multiple staff on a permanent basis, because we would lose sight of what we were actually doing, trying to create not a platform back then, but an avenue for artists that nobody wanted to talk to, but had a lot of talent. And so, therefore, that's the road we've gone down. Now, we I spoke about Facebook. Instagram goes with that. It goes via Business Suite and Facebook. We do it mostly there. But we do some directs in Instagram and, full videos and reels. Now, there's Threads, which is just Instagram. So another, they're just pushing out more text-based stuff, we think. But although we just put videos up on there. And then you've got Twitter. Now, Twitter is, for us,
X.
X is just shorts. And we only ever put... not more than 60-second videos up on there, and it's about the text base. Now, if you're not a professional subscriber, you only get, I think, 180 characters.
Sure.
And then you've got to pay, and again, so it's all about paying and subscriptions and, and yada, yada, yada. So we keep it down when we're on the free one because to go professional, I think you need to use it a lot more. Again, then we'd be devoting more time to it. But we find Twitter is quite effective because when we put a link up there, we can track that link back. Now, everybody, it's all about pixels in Facebook and in YouTube. They have their own form, and that's how you track and you do. Well, we don't do any of that because we track everything ourselves.
Okay.
Our IT people have sorted that out. And so we can see how much comes back from Twitter. It's quite a lot. It's quite effective. And so X is not dead, as some people say with Elon Musk and, it was all going to be a diabolical mess. We find quite an effective platform. Now, we get to...
Good movie, isn't it?
Woody, I haven't watched the movie.
No. The whole thing's a movie. It's just...
Yeah.
It's just a movie. It's just a Hollywood production on a grand scale that people are buying into. It's like, hang on, it's on a plastic screen, people. It's not real. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, then I move on to LinkedIn. And LinkedIn...
Whoa, it's your favourite, aren't they?
Yeah, well, that's right. The woke media side of the world. And we were always there because not so much to get people to watch videos, but the potential for sync, TV sync, movie sync and whatever. So we go to producer groups and media and entertainment, and that's what it's all about, to show all those kind of people that we have a massive catalogue and therefore you can do deals with us on behalf of the artists. And what has really exploded, and there's a lot of talk about this online now, about 3 weeks ago, maybe 4, they put in a new icon that you used to just press the icon to upload a picture or a video. And essentially we put up just 60-second videos. We don't put up full videos on there. And about 4 weeks ago, they separated those two buttons. And that's a significant move because they are signalling very clearly there that what they're going to do is they are treating video and, say, graphic or text very differently, and they're now in the game with YouTube and Facebook, who are both chasing all the videos. Now, I don't purport to be an expert in videos and yada, 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 but what that tells us, and we talk about that here, what it tells us very clearly, video is king. Everybody's chasing video views. Would that bling with you too? Everybody, that's a big move to put a separate icon on there to upload just videos. So we're separating the difference. We're giving you a distinction between an upload of a graphic or a post with text to one with video. Otherwise, why would it be any different?
It's like improv and reading, isn't it? Like watching a video, you don't have to think, but when you have to actually read text, it's a lot more effort.
And that's a sorry sight for you to even say something like that because, the text is the information itself.
But that's what they're preying on, though.
Yeah, I know. And so LinkedIn...
Where the big bucks are made.
Well, obviously, and, they've really moved into this. Now, the word around town is that LinkedIn, which is Microsoft, by the way, are pushing this big time and, again, opening the floodgates to who you get to. And so I've been getting these, I get all these notes back. your LinkedIn post has just reached 2,000 people. You know, back, say, a year ago, you put something up like that and you might get to, 20 people or whatever. Now I'm getting to 2,000 people within 3 days. And then you start to look at all your analytics on that. And it's just growing, by the way, growing very quickly. And I had noticed it and I was going, gee. And then, as I say, all the articles on this are that, they are pushing this hard. Now then, what you start to get is they're all into the marketing. So now I'm getting emails from Microsoft to market with Microsoft. Now, we haven't had discussions on this yet. Once again, this gets back to resources, okay, human resources. And we know that we market 2 ways on YouTube. You can market as a promotion within YouTube, which is on a macro level. You and me have spoken about this before. Or you can get into the AdSense Google marketing, which still relates back to your YouTube if you want. You don't have to go just to Google. And that is a much more intensive micro marketing, all right? And it takes you a good hour to set that up. On the macro level, you can set it up within 10 minutes and bang, you're gone. And you can pick, do you want to get more video views? Do you want to get more subscribers? Or do you want to push people to a website link? Okay?
Yes.
So that's more on a micro level than you on the macro. On the micro, we can dig down right down into interests and whatever. Because what you don't know about that macro marketing there with YouTube is you do not know how they're pushing it out into who. You don't. They're pushing it out, and you get results. Now you don't know how, how genuine. So we have done, I think, in our lifetime, two paid promotions for subscribers on YouTube, right?
Okay.
And we might have picked up a couple of thousand or whatever. But we've discussed this here, saying, well, but how genuine are those subscribers? Who are they? Why would you subscribe because I'm pushing it out as a promotion? So in our 8 years, we've done 2. That's it. And so we don't value them because we don't know. Organically, we pick up, anywhere from 200 to 700 new subscribers a month now. Okay?
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So, but you've got to look at the differences. Now, then you've got that marketing there, the Google marketing. You've then got Facebook marketing. Yeah, reasonably effective. Again, fairly difficult. They're trying to simplify it like YouTube because it is it takes you a good hour just to go through and set up your campaign. And then they start setting up the ABC testing and all that kind of stuff. It gets really complicated. It's being silly, but I think they do, in my opinion, when I'm doing it all, I think that they do a lot of this to show you, this is what you're paying for. It's really intricate, and so you're paying for a lot of really high-tech stuff when you're doing your campaign, whereas I think half of it's just garbage. And you can't measure those specific results. There's so many variables in the micro marketing that you then can't get the analytics to analyse a lot of that micro stuff in there. So that makes it useless. And now what you're getting, and remember Facebook goes across to Instagram marketing and all that, you can go there. And Twitter or X, I should keep calling it X, is that they now keep sending me, posts to go, market on, promote on X. It's like, really? Market on X? Serious? And now we've got them bombarding us from Microsoft on LinkedIn. So you start to see what's happening. Like you said, a bit of a movie. You start to move, and we'll move left to right, YouTube, Facebook, X, LinkedIn. And the other thing that we used to do way back was blogs, and you can push out from YouTube straight to blogs because they own blog.com. and how many people use blogs, and then you can market on there, and it goes on, and how far do you go with the saturation? Now, pull that all into Rob's drum shed. Are you overwhelmed yet?
Completely. I mean, I'd switched off, back at X. Because I think for me, it's not a focused thing. It's spreading yourself too thin, and I don't think the penetration across all of those markets would be as good. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't think it would be as good if you do that across all those.
I'm with you. I'm with you. You do have to pick and choose.
I think focusing on, for me, what I find the most beneficial is YouTube, and YouTube Shorts work for me, and I get more subscribers from that. And that's actually working. It's slow, but it's real. It's not a movie. It's not something I'm seeing on a screen that I don't believe 90% of what I see, because I just think there's some underlying marketing campaign behind it.
Can I add another layer of complexity for you? Not for me, for you.
Please do.
So with let's look at the new laws here in Australia that under 16s, is it they can't be on social media? Is that correct? They can't be on it. Well, they can't.
Have they passed that law?
Oh, well, I'm sure it will get passed because, I presume everybody votes with the Labor Party, so they want it through. On it goes. So, so if that comes in, if that comes in, from my perspective, a lot of my product, I think, hits that 16 plus. Not really, under that. It's all 16 plus. And I know my metrics, and they're up there from 24 to 60. And so it's not an issue. But for you, now I started learning drums at the age of 9. I think I was at lessons by 10, and having lessons. Now, if I've got a subscription model, and if it's a paid subscription, well, therefore, I need my parents, and then I need my parents to give me access to that site. And I know that doesn't apply around the world. You are going to the world.
I do that anyway. Being a registered teacher and teaching through schools, I had to go through all of this to get my website approved. I've got certification on my website. I've got layers of protection on my website so it can't get hacked. I've got a team of people that work on that daily, keep it safe. And I had to go through all of that to get my students from schools that I taught in. Yeah. And, the same thing goes for my private students.
So you don't get scared by that can affect your business?
Well, I've had to do that since I've put the website up to give students, because not most of my students, but a lot of my students are minors.
Yeah.
So, there's a layer of protection that you have to have in communicating with the parents and communicating with the school if you're teaching at school.
Yeah.
And there's a transparency there you have to make sure it's secure and it's not a threat to the kids. I mean, the whole Facebook thing under 16, I mean, that exists in schools and in teachers. And if you're a registered teacher, you have to have all those certificates. You have to do training, whether it's RAND training or whether it's WPC training, which is child protection training, police security.
Yeah.
As a teacher, you need to do that anyway. So it doesn't really, in my mind, seem any different. It's just gone to a public platform.
Well, that's a real skill set, mate. There's no doubt about it. That's a real skill set. It's very particular.
Absolutely, yeah. But as a teacher, a qualified teacher, you have to have that anyway. And I think that's another level of what you're dealing with. You're not dealing with somebody that's decided they can show a few people some videos about how great they can play drums. It doesn't mean they can teach, and it doesn't mean they can communicate their ideas in a way that people are going to understand them. So, it's all smoke and mirrors, and to get them more money or more likes or more views, But I think it's probably derogatory to childhood learning or even to anybody's learning, because you're dealing with someone that's not a professional or trained to be able to do that. So, no, there's a big argument there. That's just my opinion from being, a qualified teacher within that. I think that's very important distinctions to have. And maybe it's just the veil coming off of Facebook and those platforms that aren't policed and, anybody's got access to, Maybe they need
As
better
we
tips.
say, it's the wild, wild west out there. There is no doubt about it. It's the wild, wild west, and you've got to be on your guard at all times. The amount
Yeah,
of
you do.
spam that we get across Facebook, don't really get it on YouTube.
Well, how many times do you get phone calls on your phone?
Oh,
During the day?
yeah, mine's really calmed down. I'm really particular, and interestingly, that's calmed down on my phone. I still get them, but it's nowhere near as much as it used to be. And my phone number is up on all our social media sites.
Yes, that's mine.
So you'd think it'd really get picked up, but
It's on my website, it's on Facebook, it's
yeah. Look,
on YouTube.
well, I think look, we've gone across a few things there, yeah, and as you said, you're concentrating on YouTube. So Facebook are really pushing a subscription-based financial model now, also, which I couldn't believe when I got sent all the guff on it, and because we're a verified Facebook page, we get all these enhancements, right? And they were pushing the subscription model where you could run a serial on Facebook and people pay you a monthly fee and they get first dibs or they only get dibs. And, and I thought, wow, I just couldn't believe it. It just goes on and goes on. I can believe it on YouTube because we know it as a video, but you see that's how they're playing in the video game, Facebook, and they are trying to own that now also. And so if we go back to where I started, let's talk about all about social media sites and what you put up on those and why. And they were some of the questions that I've been getting asked. What you put up on them and why. And, the simplistic answer is, I put video up and, whatever. But if you want to run it as a business, and the amount of, I'll call it spam on YouTube videos that you get trying to educate you on what to do to build your video site or to build your Spotify profile
And
up is so is so out of control. And you watch some of these, and 99% of them, everybody, are exactly the same. Some of them are so simplistic, you wonder why have they wasted their time in the year 2024 when the basics everybody knows. And then, and they use those stupid terms like in 3 months you could be having 50,000 subscribers, and it goes on. And they're doing that across for Facebook and I saw one this morning that came up, and I had to watch it because I hadn't seen one before on it about how to market on LinkedIn. And I just, anyway, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. But they're all doing that, and that's because there's so much money involved now. And, they're purporting to be experts on that platform. Anyway, so hopefully we expanded a bit on, what we put up and why we put it up. And, I don't think it's super informative because it's such a wide area, and neither are we experts, but we have at least discussed what we're doing and why we're doing it. Just to finish off too, what's coming out, because we've gone, we're just about at an hour. What's coming out this Friday? So we have Another Way Friday week. Is that correct?
The 20th.
Yeah. That's Friday week?
It is, yes. It's 13th. Tomorrow.
So Friday week we have Another Way. We are releasing right through the Christmas period. We aren't stopping, and so we've got releases every week. Another Way will be a priority to get X. We think it's a good song. And then how are things going with you and the grouse and whatever, Rob?
Yeah, that's just waiting on some artwork, really, and that'll be slotted in at some stage.
Okay, we've got.
So you need.
Yeah, go on.
You need lyrics in a blurb, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, have we got cover art?
I need to talk about that off camera.
Yeah, okay. And we've got a Collingwood song, Collingwood Football Club song that we'll be releasing in late February. So we're just getting the video together now. It's a rock song. So I'm very excited about that because it's a hard topic from a creative point of view to be able to take a football club song and make it into a hard rock song. That's hard. So let's see what happens with that. There's a new Deep South track out, and I think that's out tomorrow. And that comes out tomorrow. And we have a few new artists that we've penned. Now, there's a few that we've said no to, but we have penned a few new ones coming from a lot of indie bands like the New Christs, Celebrate Rifles, Died Pretty. And the list of where this band has come from is quite exhaustive in that indie to big indie, band of bands. And there's another one or two in there which we've said yes to, and we're just waiting on material to come forth. Right. One of the things that we discussed in here was, there is certain bands that never got out of the garage band scene, so they might have supported some big bands locally, but never got out of Melbourne. And I think if you never got out of Melbourne, you never went into state, you're pretty well within that, or you're even confined within suburbs. You only did 2 or 3 suburbs, and that was it way back in the 70s and 80s, early 80s. But the music was absolutely sensational and very high calibre, and it was just the lucky break that they didn't get, and so that's where it was. And then 40 years later, they go, yeah, but we've got all these tapes. What do you think? I go, wow, they sound fantastic. And we've got a bit of that coming out. And I find that really exciting because it does showcase how many good artists are out there that have never had any form of success or really any form of exposure, really, but deserved it because, they were good musicians. They could actually write really good songs, but just wasn't your time. You weren't at the right place at the right time. So we've got some of that happening also, and that's really good. Outside of that, anything else from you, Rob?
No, I mean, on that, there's a band that I landed in the lap of when I moved to Melbourne, and that was the Fan Band. And I always thought they were one of the greatest Melbourne underground acts that I'd ever seen. And I've got a couple of tapes. I mean, I would never release them because I couldn't get permission from the guitar player Simon, I don't think, for him to release it. But the single that they recorded, it's called Continental, and it's great, And that's just an example of it.
Absolutely, that's what we're talking about, Rob.
Yeah. I mean, Greg Pedley was a phenomenal drummer, and Simon the guitar player, the writer, I can't remember his last name, and Peter German, Pog, was the bass player who ended up playing with Jimmy the Human. And
yes, that's
the Astros, who I played with for a while I was in Melbourne as well. So,
Mate, and didn't the Astros do a lot of gigs?
Yeah, I mean, my first big gig in Melbourne was with the Astros, opening for Kevin Borich, and it was, it was at the Palais. It was full. It's like, whoa, hello, Melbourne, I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, the Astros I just remember them being on all the gig posters all the time, everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I did that with the Virgin Soldiers as well, and the Fan Band. They were all posters on the wall of the band house in Camberwell. So I kind of went, who are these bands? And then went to see them and went, whoa, they are great. I mean, it's not a very descriptive sort of how good they were, but whoa was how I felt when I saw them. But and the venues were always packed too.
Well, the principle of what you're saying is, so, there's a lot of these bands that were back in the day that have still got some really good material that needs to be released.
I think Josie Jason and the Argonauts as well was another one.
Oh, phenomenal band, phenomenal guitarist. I mean, we've got a little bit of her stuff out through New Age.
Yeah, she was part of that Fan and Band family from Camberwell Road, the band house there. That was a collection of musicians
Yep.
that I was fortunate enough to land in the lap of when I moved over. They're very supportive people. Come and live at our place. We'll give you somewhere to stay. I love that camaraderie that Melbourne has and Melbourne artists have. They're supportive and talented. So it's good.
Absolutely.
Keep it going, Vince.
All right, mate. Well, until next week, I will bid you goodbye.
All right. See you later.
See you, Rob.
Bye.